at some point in your life, 70% of Americans will need some form of long term health care.
And now, broadcasting from Titletown, USA, here's Joe Simon.
Welcome to the show. We're so grateful that you take some time to kind of walk through subjects like this, financial strategies. We're continuing. This is part three in a three-part series as we talk to subject matter experts that take us really deep on subjects, on concepts and tools that really should be part of your toolbox as you look at how to really get the maximum impact with your money. And I want to welcome in Sheryl J. Moore, our subject matter expert that we've been talking to in the last two series. Hi again, Sheryl.
Hi, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Today, as I had mentioned in our last part two, kind of signing off there was I want to share a personal story about long-term care. I want to talk about how long-term care plays into annuities. That's really been a big subject matter. Sheryl has written a great book on it, and you'll be seeing that website on how to get access to her books. So stay tuned for that. But let me just share a story quickly. So, um, 25, 26 years ago, I was just a few years into this industry, and I had a conversation with my mom and dad about the concerns that the industry was bringing up with long term care. What happens, and at that time, that just immediately went to the term nursing homes and who's going to go to a nursing home and what's that going to cost? And it's really evolved over the years, but kind of 25, 26 years ago, how that went was I did all the homework. I made the presentation to my parents, and they decided it just wasn't going to be something they wanted to do. Within 2 years after that, my dad had serious heart and health issues. He was into his late 60s, and life just didn't get better after that for about the last 4 years of his life until he died. And it was physically and emotionally something that we'd never gone through as a family, and certainly my mom had never experienced that either. So about a year and a half after my dad's death, I reintroduced the idea of mom. Now it's just you. You've got a as a widow, you have a pension as a survivor from my dad, and certain things are taken care of. But one of the concerns we have is this thing called the rising cost of health care when you're going to need it, which could be anything from assisted living to nursing care. And again, we did the homework and made the comparisons. And at that point, my mom said, "Yeah, I think you're right. We need to do this." So we signed up, got my mom rolling on it, and fast forward to 2020, and where the world stood still and COVID hit, and my mother was one of those victims of that as she fought through that. But shortly, within 6, 7 months, she needed to be admitted to a nursing home. So all along, my mom had been paying her premium for this now 25-year-old long-term care policy. And the pressure from my family that I created in my own mind was, okay, now we've got this great product that you said mom should get, and she's been paying, and now we need it. So let's see what happens. And long story short, it's a happy ending. It paid everything, and it continues to pay everything as my mom continues with assisted living. And so here's the quick numbers on that very quickly. Anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 in the Midwest per month is what a private assisted living could be at 7% inflationary annually, and a lot of other issues around that. But I want to steer this now towards how do we do this? So we've been talking about annuities with Sheryl Moore. And Sheryl, what our industry calls that is a hybrid annuity because it kind of does two things. So why don't you just step in at this point and talk just a little bit about what you're seeing and what your thought is and how you talk to people, consumers, about a hybrid, we're going to call a hybrid long-term care annuity.
hmm Well, Joe, this is especially salient to me because my father has just gotten the orders that he has to go to a nursing home. And unfortunately, he moved his 401k when he left his employer into the stock market directly, and he has lost a lot of money now, where I wish he had purchased a hybrid annuity, that combo product where you're talking about having long-term care as well as guaranteed lifetime income in a single product. The sad thing is that we really don't have a lot of hybrid life insurance and annuity products relative to annuities in general or life insurance in general. But the great thing that I like about the hybrid annuity is that it's not a use it or lose it benefit like long term care that's a standalone product is. The use it or lose it convention is really resounding with consumers because they don't want to have to worry about making those long term care payments and then not getting a benefit if they need it. Well, the annuity and long term care combination allows them to have those expenses taken care of when they need them, but still retain some benefits from the annuity if needed as well.
Cheryl, something that's been around for quite some time, the great ones by name Tom Hagna, Van Miller. I know them. I study their material. I'm in touch with Van more than anybody else. But one of the things that continually comes up, and it's been around for at least 10 years, is now it's almost 70% of Americans. The number one fear that Americans have today, over 70%, is not having enough money during their retirement years. Another way to put that is outliving their retirement assets. And then we add on, just to make things even more challenging, long term care. So everybody's figuring this is how much I need, and I'm going to take this much out. And if the market kind of treats me this way in this kind of category, I should be, it's a perfectly balanced little approach that should work for a long time. But then, especially if you're somebody that perhaps you're married, your house is paid off, your kids are gone away now, you're living off of this cash flow, and one of you needs to go into long-term care. Remember the numbers, 6 to 10,000 a month. So they're going to be over there with that expense. That's a whole new budget that you haven't even planned on. So we need some lift, we need some relief. And I think what we're both agreeing on here and the message today is, the old insurance rule is pennies for dollars. And yes, we can all Google and see the worst insurance stories out there of somebody not getting what they thought they would get from an insurance carrier. We don't have to think back too far, just look back, different type of insurance, but think back to what's happened in California. And that's a subject for another day. But, really the old rule of thumb is pennies for dollars. You pay in a few $1,000s to get multi-millions of dollars in some cases. In my mom's case, the pool of money that she has access to is upwards near $750,000. But you do the math. If her cost of staying in assisted living is 125 to possibly $150,000 a year, you can burn through that. And I know that's hard to believe, but you can burn through that very quickly. And really what I'm hearing here and what I try to provide when I'm talking to people is choices. Choices are nice. Not just one choice, but more than one choice. Can you talk a little bit about, even if it's not even a hybrid annuity, maybe it's just an annuity, maybe just take a minute and a half or so to walk us through some things that you've experienced or thought on how that might fit somebody as we talk about preparing for long-term care costs.
Yeah, I mean, really, the key to this is to have some foresight as you discuss going through with your father's passing and then your mom when she was a widow. It There has never been a better time to talk about long-term care expenses because, as I explained with my father's example, it's too late at this point for him. So, really, everybody should be concerned about this. I think it's hard for people to think about well, what if I die? Or what if
Yeah.
I am, sent to a qualified long term care facility? That just isn't something that Americans like to talk about. But it's necessary to talk about it now so that you can have those benefits when it comes time, like your mom's going through, Joe.
We like to talk about the stock market. We like to talk about gold. We like to talk about Bitcoin.
Mm,
Everybody likes to talk about it, but then the real question is, well, how much do you really have invested in that, and how are you winning, and all of those things. But yeah, these are, to use an old term, this is blocking and tackling stuff. This is foundational. When you're talking about, as I pointed out before, significant dollars that could be going for, we've been talking about mom and dad, but now it's you. Now it's
hmm
me. And you have a certain dollar amount, and the likelihood of you needing some kind of long-term care is very, very strong as we get older. And of course, we all want the best care. The question's got to be, what's that going to do to the rest of your financial house?
hmm
So, Cheryl, just really appreciate your time, and so glad that you could be a part of the subject matter expert series that we're doing here. Is there any last minute thoughts you want to add to the conversation today as we sign off for today?
Well, really, I think the best message I can give your listeners is that if they feel an annuity might be right for them, to search for the right person who can help them, like you. Unfortunately, there are a lot of different types of financial professionals, and some of them might badmouth annuities just because they earn money differently than the people who sell annuities. It's very political. But what's really important is if the consumer has arrived at the decision that they feel an annuity is right for them, they need to be diligent in finding that professional who offers those products and can give them guidance.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, for joining us today. I want to put your website up again, access to your books. I would encourage viewers to go to it, study it. There's a little bio on each one of them. Fascinating. But I'll tell you what my personal, what I personally like out of the three of them. But you have to email me, and I'll tell you that. But I want to thank you so much. I want to encourage people to continue to watch as we continue to get deeper on our subject matter experts down the road. But in the meantime, thanks for tuning in, and have a prosperous day.
You've been listening to the Joe Simon Podcast. Big ideas with powerful stories and real-time solutions. Business succession planning, executive benefits, employee benefits, tax beneficial savings, and more. Remember, information discussed here today is dated and not specific to your situation. Always seek personal counsel from qualified advisors. For more about Joe Simon, go to DaVinciInsurance.com. Joe Simon is a licensed insurance agent in the state of Wisconsin. Licensed to advise on accident and health, life insurance, disability insurance, and annuities, as well as qualified long-term care insurance. Make sure to visit the DaVinciInsurance.com archives for more of our podcasts.